Hello and welcome to another game of Age of Empires 2 HD brought to you by Manbeast. Today, just before we start things off, I'm just going to kind of explain the context of this game. This game is a somewhat of a lower level game, and it's from the Wololo HD Tournament. And the reason I'm casting it is simply to give some of the newer players, or perhaps some of the lower ranked players, some tips on basic, kind of basic stuff you should do when playing Age of Empires 2. Although I might not be the best player, I do know my basics pretty well, so I'm just thinking I can kind of give some constructive criticism of these players, and hopefully they'll improve, and hopefully the other lower ranked players who watch this will also improve. I think that's it. This is a game from the Wololo HD Tournament, and I think that's all I've got to say. Anyway, let's begin. We have the Victor and the Blue playing as the Mines. Straight off the bat, when you're playing Mines, you should research Loom straight away rather than recruit a villager, but the Victor has done that fairly well. He did click on a villager first, but that's fair enough, as that's the kind of reflex action. He has yet to find his sheep. Might be worth scouting with one of his villagers when he has the opportunity to. But anyway, let's go on to his opponent. Alma's playing in the purple as the Aztecs. Generally, you should stick to playing to just making 2 houses, although you can get away with making 3 houses unless you're the Huns, in which case you should definitely always make not make any houses, but you start off with less wood, but you don't really have the option to make houses anyway, so it's not a big deal. But the reason I say don't make extra houses is just because, you know, you want your to get your lumber camp up, and if you haven't got the wood for that, he's scraping the wood for that, so he can get away with it. But generally it's normal practice to put up 2 houses and then go straight on a sheep. That's also means you're gathering your sheep that much faster, rather than wasting time putting up another house when you don't necessarily need the extra house, and that will generally make your economy slightly worse. It's not like a major thing, but again, it is there, and it is something Almas could improve upon. Now, I've already watched some of this game, and I think he only goes for 3 villagers on wood, rather than 4, so he doesn't go for the drosh. And as Aztecs, although you don't have to go for the drosh, generally it's kind of recommended, as it's one of the big bonuses that the Aztecs get, is being able to pull off the best drosh in the game. Particularly when you're playing against another opponent who isn't playing as the Aztecs, I really recommend doing the drosh, just because you have that advantage. Arguably, the Mines do get better later in the Castle Age, just because they have a better unique unit, the Plumed Archer, and cheaper archers overall. In Feudal, they're probably go toe-to-toe fairly well. I mean, the Aztecs do have faster military production, but the Mines have cheaper archers, so those things probably kind of even out. But the Aztecs do have a better economy. That being said, the Mines get better Eagles and Imperial, so it's in Almas's interests to end this sooner rather than later. Also, don't kill your sheep like this. First of all, you shouldn't be gathering sheep now that you've lured in your boar. You should have put these 4 villagers onto your berries or your deer, one of them. Then you should have lured in your second boar, and then you should have started taking sheep into the town centre. That's fairly basic kind of level of things. And the reason it's better to do that is because it's always better to take food which you don't need to give wood for. So you don't need to build farms or anything this early on in the game. That being said, you need to build a mill at some point, because you are going to need farms at some point in the game. So this is the ideal moment to build your mill. Not too sure what Almas is going for here. Yeah, it looks like he's going on to the mill now. And this kind of sheep gathering is fairly sloppy. You want to get 6 villagers on your sheep. unless you're Britons, then you want to get 5 because of their sheep gathering bonus, but you always want to have your sheep under the town centre with 6 villagers on. The reason it's 6 villagers is because that means you gather faster than the rate of decay on the sheep. If, for newer players who don't know, in Age of Empires, when you kill a sheep, it automatically starts losing meat straight away after it's been killed. If you have 6 villagers on the sheep, then you can avoid that loss. The reason you put it under the town centre is because you don't waste time walking back and forward from the town centre to your sheep and whatnot. Okay, with that out of the way, it looks like the victor is going for a full wall off here. We are almost at 8.5 villagers, 8.5 minutes. Alma's only on 21 population. He should really be on 22, and he's queued up far too many villagers. At this point, you really want to be getting up to feudal age. You can probably push it to maybe 25 villagers, but if you're still planning on doing a feudal rush, you really want to go up with around 22, 23 population. What are we seeing from the victor? The victor's already clicked up, good for him. However, he's slightly late feudal time there. Also, what is this parcel doing? He's gathering the deer, which is good to do if you think you can get away with it. At the same time, it's generally your deer are very far away from your town centre. Alma's doesn't really have that problem. His deer are very close to his town centre in comparison, but it's kind of risky, particularly if your opponent goes for scouts. Then you're going to have a group of villagers left in the middle of nowhere, like the victor, and those villagers are presumably going to die. That being said, they're both playing as meadow civs, so no one's going to be going scouts. However, the victor doesn't have a barracks up yet, and neither does Alma's, and this is one thing which I really need to stress, I think. You need to get your barracks up before feudal. If you plan on going for a feudal age rush, you need to get your barracks up before feudal. There's no point in gathering loads and loads and loads of food with Aztecs or Mayans unless you're going for a unless you're going for a fast castle. Because the Mayans and Aztecs can't get scouts. You can't use that food on its own as military production resource. You can use the food and gold to make militia. You can use the food and wood to make skirmishers or spearmen, but you cannot just use food on its own as the Mayans or Aztecs. The victor only just putting up his barracks, and he's only gathering. He only has 1 villager on gold, which is again a really very bad. Looks like the victor has sniped a villager there, but he's also lost his scout. Arguably, it's probably worth more to keep on harassing your opponent with your scout rather than lose your scout and having killed a villager. Always split your lumber camp, because if you get crushed, or if your opponent has a load of archers later and just decides to sit on this hill, then there's nothing you can do to get more wood. And if you don't have enough wood for another lumber camp, then you're pretty screwed. No archer range up yet, and he's still only got 3 villagers on gold. Generally, you need 5 villagers at least for an archer rush. I think Zero Empires did quite a good video on managing your economy to be as efficient as possible, and for an archer rush you generally need, I think it's producing from 2 archer ranges, you need 7 villagers on gold. So again, there's a lot of room for improvement here. Alma's has put up his archer ranges straight away, and he's going for archers now. He's got more villagers on gold, but again, this is a very late feudal rush, and even though he does have villagers on gold, and even though he's putting up his 2 archer ranges, there's a lot of room for improvement. Also, well, I'm just thinking, like, he should probably separate his lumber camps a little bit better. Like, he's separated his lumber camps, which is great, good work there, but he's kind of oversaturated this lumber camp, and he has undersaturated this one, so maybe move 2 villages over there from here. and start putting more villages on gold. You do need more villages on gold. Subsidizing his archers with skirmishes, always a good idea if you're going for an archer rush and you can't quite afford another archer unit. The Victor picking up his second range now. 29 population for the Victor. Alma's on 36, so Alma's is really leading the way at the moment. Probably mainly due to his military production. That being said, the Victor has started producing archers of his own, but he is pop capped. At this point, the Victor could probably pull off a fairly decent fast castle if he wanted to. He's got enough food for it. He has oversaturated his berries a lot, which isn't really that great. Generally, you can get away with oversaturating your berries, but it's not as... Berries are a very slow income source of income for food. If you can get farms up, if you can afford farms, then it's generally a better idea to do that. Particularly, I generally think that if you're pulling off an archer rush, you shouldn't have any farms coming up into the feudal age, because you need your wood for production buildings and archers. Looks like Alma's has come forward for some harassment. I'm just going to finish off what I was saying though. You shouldn't have any farms coming up into the feudal age, because you need your wood for your production buildings and your archers and whatnot, and to get double bidacks at the lumber camp. That's probably most important. At the same time though, you don't be afraid to put down farms if you can afford them later in the feudal age. It's a very important part of the game to be able to get farms. Don't send your villagers back. And okay, there's too much to say here, and there is too many wrong things going on at the same time. Okay, archers coming into the base. That's a good sign. Good harassment. Keep your archers moving and focus on one target. You're not going to kill any villagers if you have all your archers shooting at different targets. Over here, Alma's didn't notice a load of enemy villagers walking back to the lumber camp. He could have probably sniped this one off. That would have worked out very nicely. Generally, it's more worthwhile to shoot downhill if you can, rather than uphill, because you get the attack bonus, which is a 25% attack bonus. Uphill, 25% attack reduction to yourself if you're taking damage from... Oh crap, I completely messed this up. If you're shooting uphill, then you get 25% less damage from your troops, and if you shoot downhill, then you get 25% bonus. These villagers are going down nonetheless, so good for Alma's there. Looks like the Victor has been cleared up fairly well, and this is something I just want to check on. He set his gather point right into his opponent's base. That's a really bad idea, particularly in the feudal age. Are we going to see some sort of tower rush? We're going further on than I watched now, so I can't really predict what's going to happen. But okay, the Alma's is being incredibly aggressive here, and that's a good thing. Generally, aggression defines Age of Empires. That being said, there's still a lot he could improve on, and also the Victor really needs to, rather than build your farms around this mill over here, which you've been forced to put up, build them around your town centre, because you can garrison your town centre. It's safer in your town centre, or around your town centre, because the enemy troops will probably not go by there, as they'll be afraid of getting shot at by your town centre. The Victor can probably go up to castle very soon once he gets enough food up. However, he stopped producing villagers. He's only got 31 population. Alma's, on the other hand, has 66 population, more than double. And, well... why is there a lumber camp over here? If your opponent manages to push you back, let's say the Victor has already clicked up to castle age. It's plausible because the Victor probably has enough resources to have clicked up. Yeah, he has just clicked up. Now, if your opponent gets Manganao out, your feudal army is going to be useless. Most of it's skirmishers, first of all, so skirmishers are terrible at dealing with Manganels. And then you've just put a load of villagers in danger, which is just not ideal at all. Also, well, why didn't you build your lumber camp, say, over here, which is much closer to your base and much easier to defend? I understand that this lumber isn't really perfect because of the large pond that takes up most of it, and this lumber isn't perfect either, it being on a hill, but still, just because this one's, well, it's not exactly flat, it's also on a hill, but just because it's flat doesn't mean that you should go and take your enemy's lumber. I could kind of understand if you're taking your opponent's gold, but to send that many villagers and risk that many villagers on it is, I find, somewhat a bad idea, really. Looks like the victor really has been forced to wall off a lot. He's still kept his gold under control, and if you really have to, it's never really ideal to have to put up a tower, never mind 2 towers, but I guess this situation called for a tower having come up. Looks like there's a stone wall behind this tower, which is interesting. Castle Age has been reached for the victor. Starting to produce villagers, and what are you going for? He ceased archer production completely, which is, I guess, somewhat understandable if your opponent's going skirmishes, but I still don't see why ceased it completely. If you had 6 crossbows upgraded with Bodkin, you'd be able to one-shot villagers fairly easily, and that would cause havoc in your opponent's base. Get a Mangan out, man. You need to defend your base. Villagers actually do okay against archers in small numbers if you're really forced to, and it looks like the victor really is forced to in this situation. If he got, say, 4 villagers hitting 1 archer and then went for the other archers and skirmishers, then the villagers would be able to take out these archers and skirmishers fairly easily. When the skirmishers are mashed up like this, however, probably not, but when they're in very small groups such as this, that does work out. Although that's really a last resort kind of tactic, it's not something you should think, oh, there's only 2 archers there, and I'm just going to take them out with my villagers rather than take them out with your military. You should generally try and take them out with your military. Still waiting for the victor to do something. If he can get a castle up, then maybe he can pull this back. A castle up, well, I'm not really sure where he'd put it. I guess if he put a castle up by here, it would take back most of his base. And it would also mean he could get plumed archers, which are just a brilliant unit. Has he got Bodkin yet? That's the real question. No, he hasn't. He's got Fletching, though. If he had Bodkin, then he'd be able... Well, he'd be more than able to outrange these archers and things. Or that being said, he already is, because town centers have a base range of... No, never mind. Yeah, they have a base range of 6, so that he can take them out. He can outrange them anyway. Almaz is kind of doing the right thing here. Because he's got so many skirmishers, he doesn't have to be afraid of town centre fire that much. He's got the +1 defense. He's not going to take much damage from town centres. Alma's almost up to castle age now, and he's building forward, which is probably a good thing to do. He's putting up barracks, though, which I really don't think is a good idea. Eagle Warriors just aren't a great unit until the Imperial Age, unless you're playing the Forgotten, in which case they're a pretty good, decent unit when you research. Is it Heavy Eagle or just Eagle Warrior? I can't really remember the research, but there's like a medium level Eagle after Eagle Scout. Now, up in the castle age, what are we seeing? Eagle Scouts coming out. Any upgrades for those? +4 attack, but I think they get the +2 anyway from when they reach castle. Bodkin's being done, that's always a good sign. +1 defense being done, that's probably fairly important if you plan on raiding with them. All this being said, it looks like the victor should be able to get a castle up fairly soon, and yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for forward siege workshop coming up. This is pretty good stuff by Almaz, I guess. He should be applauded for that forward kind of offensive. And generally, if you try and keep your opponent unbalanced, that's the way to really go. These skirmishers one-shotting villagers, that's fairly impressive. And this town centre is going to go down, unless the victor can put down a castle or something now, which he's going to do, but even if he gets the castle up, unless he attacks the battering rams and takes out the battering rams fairly soon, it's going to be very hard to defend. That being said, he has enough wood for a siege workshop and enough gold to produce a mangonel. If he can produce a mangonel, mangonels are probably one of the best defensive units in the game, just because if your opponent tries to take down your town centre or your siege workshop or whatever, you can use your mangonel to target the ram, and it's really very hard to take down anything that's guarded by a mangonel unless you brought your own mangonel or you have a lot of massed cavalry or perhaps eagles in this situation. The victor's doing the right thing, attacking the rams with his villagers. Rams really do not stand up to much punishment, even if it's from villagers. Siege workshop coming up. Well done for the victor. It's like he's listening to me as I commentate. Now, I'm surprised Alma's hasn't got the... Where has his massive skirms gone? Yeah. I'm surprised he hadn't got elite skirmisher. That's something which he should really get, just because he's got so many skirmishers. The victor might be able to start putting this back now. He's going to start producing plumed archers and whatnot. That being said, he's still got a lot to worry about on this flank. But he's very quick to the garrison, so good for him. And now these archers have 2 towers and a castle firing down on them, and they were just completely annihilated. Kind of bad micro there by the, or bad army control by Alma's there. Alma's does have a monk up. That's kind of worthwhile, and monks are rarely used for healing units. It's probably better if you're using your monk to heal, say, knights or other units which are very expensive, like eagles probably come under that category. Not skirmishers as so much as their cheapest chips, but anyway. The victor should definitely be putting up another town centre as soon as possible. 37 population for him, 92 for Alma's. I really get the feeling that, yeah, I don't think the victor is constantly producing villagers, and I don't think he was during the feudal age, which is really a bad thing. You should generally try and produce as many villagers as you can. For a town centre coming up for Alma's is a very cheeky person here. And I'm wondering really whether Alma's is going to get the relics. If you can get the relics, it's always worth doing so. In fact, whenever I play Arena, generally I actually go for the relics straight away, just because they are such a big bonus later in the game. And of course, they're a bonus. The sooner you get them, the bigger the bonuses, because they pay off over time. So it's in your interest to get them. Somewhat surprised of this lumber camp over here. All it would take is like an archer to come out, or maybe 2 archers to come out to take out these 2 villagers. So what is the point in all of these forward lumber camps and things? A lot of plumed archers up for the victor. Mangonel out, so he is going to be able to hold his own if it comes down to it. A lot of battering rams though, but there's no reason why the victor couldn't add in another mangonel, and he's also almost got enough for another castle. That being said, he's not going for more town centres, which is a real shame. It's something he really needs, seeing as his economy is very bare bones at the moment. He has +1 defense and +2 attack, good for him. Getting your upgrades is always very important. Oh god, the game kind of lagged a little bit there. The castle's going to come up, and if it comes up, that's going to be really good for him. However, that being said, if he could put the castle maybe on a hill or somewhere, I don't know, I think he could have used the castle to secure more resources rather than push his enemy back. Looks like these mangonels are going to be tested now. 4 rams coming up, and are these mangonels going to be worth it? Where is this mangonel going? What are you doing? Take out the rams. Take out the rams with your mangonels, please. What are you doing? I'm sorry, I don't want to get stressed out by this, and I don't want to make the players feel bad, but that's something he should have done. Looks like there's a fair bit of lag, and these mangonels will make minced meat of these skirmishers. Really lovely work there, pushing back the rams, and this is getting the victor back in the game now. Take your mangonel back. You don't want it to get taken out by an eagle. Looks like Almas is going for a couple of mangonels of his own. That being said, it's going to be quite hard for him to push with mangonels, and Almas has lost most of his army here. The victor, having pulled this back massively, he's gone down from having a 1,700 point deficit to clearing the gap. But the thing is he producing villagers? No, he's not. You need to produce villagers. Also, generally it's worthwhile getting wheelbarrow as soon as you can. Be that, I know, get it in the feudal age as soon as you can, and if you can afford it, get handcart as soon as you can. They make, sorry, I'm dealing with some indigestion, but they make your economy a lot more efficient. Taking down this town centre now, and this is really good for Almas. He's doing the right thing now, being a bit more offensive and further taking out his opponent. Almas has got 3 town centres up, and I haven't really focused on Almas because of the amount of aggression that's been going on. He's got 4 town centres up, which is interesting. That being said, he's going to lose a couple of his town centres now. Take out the town centre, don't focus on the, well, I guess it is probably better to focus on the siege workshop. You don't want any rogue rams taking down your castles. Looks like Almas is going to go for a little bit of harassment with his Eagle Scouts. They are fully upgraded for the Castle Age right now, and they will be able to make minced meat out of villagers. Looks like that mangonel just got taken out by skirmishers somehow. Pretty ridiculous, but... And looks like Almas is about to get some harassment of his own, and this is really good play by the victor. Generally, the best way to defend yourself is to be very aggressive, and this has worked out quite well for Almas so far, as the victor has been so busy defending his base he hasn't had an opportunity to be particularly offensive. Now though, the victor has busted out, and plus the plumed archers make for a great harassment unit because they're so fast. It's going to be very hard for any of Almas' troops to catch up. Plus, these elite skirms aren't going to do much against the plumed archers. They're totally they're outmassed, first of all, and also they're not elite skirmishers, they're just normal skirmishers, so they're just out-tacked as well. However, elite skirmisher has just been done for Almas, and that was a good call there. Town centre falling for Almas. Get your archers out of there, you can't really afford to lose this. Lost too many military units there. Never try, like, when they were skirmishers it was fairly reasonable to think that you could have taken them on, but once they've gotten up to elite skirmisher, it's probably best to get out of there, just because plumed archers are a great unit. You don't want to lose that many of them. Looks like these mangonels might be in danger. That being said, all of these eagles just died. The victor could go up to Imperial fairly soon. Alma's nowhere near Imperial. He needs to get a lot more food. That being said, his economy is a lot better, so he should be able to get that resource faster than the victor has, but still, he's kind of... You get the impression that he's wasting a lot of his resources by trying to push this. It's going to be very hard to take this down in the Castle Age. And there's no real reason why he needs to necessarily take these castles out now. Then it's not like these castles are very close to his base. He could just boom up, go to Imperial, get a couple of trebs or siege rams and take them out that way. Now, this is going to be interesting. Plumed archers don't deal particularly well with mangonels. That being said, if you micro them, then they do the job pretty well and get... Ooh, that was close. But yeah, really well done there by the victor. This is a lot better now. That being said, the Victor is still only on 1 town centre, and that's something he really needs to work on. 67 population for the Victor, 130 for Alma's, which says a lot. No gather points up for this TC. Probably worth pushing this back as well when he can. Get these archers out of there. They do not stand up to town centre fire particularly well. Now, I think if the Victor started getting a lot more mangonels, like if he pushed with plumed archers and mangonels, then this combination of skirms and eagles isn't really going to stand up. I mean, Alma's doesn't really have enough eagles to take out the mangonels effectively. Get those mangonels over here, man. Looks like we're seeing an archer and a skirmisher just kind of nosy round. I'm going to guess that Alma's probably won't notice this. We're going to come back and see if any of these units died. No, it looks like he did notice. Oh. Wow. I criticise others for their play and then I get low battery on my laptop. Third world problems, eh? Anyway. The Victor almost has enough resource for another town centre. Oh no, he's put up another town centre. Good for him. He's going to start getting his economy on. There are so many wolves on this map. There's 6 wolves in a very short space. These villagers that may... I don't think they'll all die, but a couple of them might if no, yeah, I think they all will die. Wow. Poor... Poor Victor, he just lost 4 villagers to wolf attack. That was incredibly bad luck there. Now, I think Alma's probably has gone a bit overboard with the TCs here. I mean, unless he's keeping them all constantly producing, then there's no real reason why he should have this amount of TCs. He's only keeping some of them producing, not all of them. And... yeah, that's not it. If you're not going to keep your all of your TCs constantly producing, then there's no real point of. Let's just sign out here because I don't want to get more notifications. But if you're just going to use your TCs as garrison places, then well, I know they're not really worth that. Also, you wouldn't need as many TCs at the front of your base if you didn't insist on building your economy near the front of your enemy's base. It's kind of a strange thing there. Looks like this mangonel could do a lot of damage. No, get out of there, get out. You want to avoid those mangonels. Now, Alma's has 3 mangonels. That's going to be fairly hard to take out. However, if the Victor can get up to Imperial and get some elite eagles out, then it's over. The same probably goes for Alma's though. So no, that being said, Alma's probably going to get up to Imperial fairly soon. He's got the resources for it. Just needs a little bit more food. What? That villager. Wow. That is one tough villager. I kind of assumed that these wolves would attack this villager, but I must have been wrong. Well, it turns out I was wrong. Pop cap at 175 population for quite some time. However, he has clicked up to Imperial. Good for him. The Victor, nowhere near Imperial. In fact, I'm not sure what he spent all of these resources on. Third town centre finally coming up at 55 minutes in. That's very late. Now it'll be interesting. I think Alma's is going Eagles. The only reason I think that he's already got the barracks up. He's already got some. Yeah, he's getting more barracks up. He's already got some of the upgrades for Eagle, so it would be worthwhile going Eagles anyway. And the castle will mean that he can get the Garland Wars technology. Once Alma's hits Imperial, I really do expect this to be GG, just because the Elite Eagle Warrior does not go down to missile units very easily at all. Getting a couple of relics, always worthwhile. And I'm not really sure what... It looks like the Victor's going to go for a little bit of harassment of his own, but I'm not really sure whether this is a good idea, particularly as he's got a seed workshop coming right on the front of his base. Now, whether he notices this or not is another thing, and the fact that he's his opponent's an Imperial is really going to make things a lot harder. Looks like his opponent is about to garrison the town centre. Did a fair bit of harassment there, but kind of too little, too late. Almas has 2,000 food and only 301 gold. Presumably he's upgrading his, no, is he not? He's only producing eagles from one place. He hasn't got the elite eagle warrior upgrade yet. Or rather, he's only producing eagles from 2 places. 1, 2... Yeah, what's the point in building all of these barracks if you're not going to produce them? It's really in your interest to produce from all your barracks. Also, these Eagle Scouts do not stand up to fire as well as Eagle Warriors. You should wait until you've got the Elite Eagle Warrior upgrade and then send them in, because then they're going to be so much more durable. Armor's pop capped at 200. Trebuchet's coming out, and this is going to be very hard for the Victor to deal with. The Victor almost up. If he can get up fairly soon, then this might not be game over, but so it's going to be hard to see how he deals with this. If this Mangonel can take out this Trebuchet, that might be good, but it would only delay things for a little while. And the Mangonel is going to be taken out straight away by these Eagle Scouts. Another castle coming up here. And Imperial Age clicked up for the Victor. Good for him. Looks like this town centre is going to go down, and the Victor is getting the relics, so that's really good for him. However, whether or not he'll have enough time for these to take effect. Eagle Scouts are still Eagle Scouts. They're not going to be particularly great until they're Eagle Warriors, and they're not going to stand up to the elite to plumed archers very well until the elite Eagle Warriors. This Trebuchet is going to go down very quickly just because of the amount of plumes that are there. Well played by Victor. Eagle Scout's going to go down. Interesting, yeah. The Victor has got his university up, so he will have ballistics, which is a vital upgrade. And still, get mass up your Eagle Scouts and get the Eagle upgrade. I can't trust this enough. I'm just looking for whether he's got it at home, maybe. No, not from what I can tell. He's got a defensive castle, which is always a good sign. And Almas really needs to be very aggressive now, before his opponent gets up to the Imperial Age. He's got to push the advantage whilst he has it. The Victor is slowly catching up. He's getting more and more... He's getting more population. His population has more than tripled in the past couple of minutes in the game. What is this Trebuchet attacking? It doesn't appear to be attacking anything. Okay. Looks like this barracks is gonna be... well, not gonna... Well, no, it is gonna make it up because the Eagles aren't attacking the villagers, which is a bit of a shame. Castle's coming up. Eagle Scout. I'm waiting for the Elite Eagle Warrior upgrade, because if Almas loses this, then it's most certainly because he didn't get the Elite Eagle upgrade sooner. If he got the Elite Eagle upgrade sooner, he would have... this would be GG already. I guess this is kind of the basics I talked about earlier. This is the things which you need to learn to do. Another castle coming up for the victor here. How many... No, for Alma's there. How many relics does the victor have? Because Alma's probably has access to more of the gold on the map at the moment. He's got 2 relics. Now, it doesn't matter if this mangonel dies, as long as he can get a couple of shots with his mangonel, then that's fine. Now that he doesn't have any mangonels, it's worth putting out, I think. That being said, the castle suddenly have become in range, and I'm guessing that's because brace has been done. Probably worth getting the onager if you're dealing with this amount of skirms. Yeah, and more hour in production, so yeah, I think it's worth getting onager, and definitely going eagle, getting some eagles out of your own would probably be worthwhile. What are we seeing here? Nothing as of yet. Idle villagers, always set your gather points. And looks like we're in for a full-on imp war over here. The victor is attacking uphill, so that's going to be a little bit harder. Maybe focus down the mangonel first of all, and then the trebuchet. Ooh, this could be bad. Take it down, take it down, take it down. Ah, better. Elite Plume has been done, and now the scores are almost even, and I really do think that this could have been ended a lot earlier if his opponent just got Elite Plumed Archer. Elite Eagle Warrior, sorry, there. Gotta watch out, maybe, probably worth getting a monk over here just to heal these guys. And I think it's probably worth recruiting now to heal up your plumed archers, because you know you really want to keep them, as many of them alive as possible. That being said, the victor really has bled out Alma's over there, even though he was attacking uphill. At the same time, though, Alma's is pushing on this flank, and I don't think the victor can hold 2 fronts. Repair your trebuchet, man. Might be worth repairing the castle. You've got enough resources to do so, and always it's probably worth going into skirmishes now, because you don't really have as much gold income as you once had. Trebuchet down. Eagle Scouts are still Eagle Scouts, so it'll probably lose to the Plumed Archer. Yeah. Get those plumes out of there. Oof. You're going to see much more damage. Yeah, this mangonel is going to take out all of these elite skirms, and that's just going to be the way it is. Kind of miss micro there by Alma's, and if Victor can manage to push this back and reclaim some of the gold spots, like this gold spot, then he's probably going to win. What are the market prices? Okay, yeah, food and stone has reached a rock bottom. However, there are still a couple more. Well, there's one more relic over here, so probably worthwhile. And Alma still hasn't taken his 2nd gold, which is interesting. Somewhat surprised as to why this trebuchet isn't attacking this trebuchet or the castle rather than houses, but I guess whatever floats your boat. Why is this a load of villagers coming over here to attack a trebuchet? Somewhat confused by that. And that is an absolute absurd amount of skirmishers. Are we seeing another mangonel? Because I don't think the victor has the resources to deal with this amount of skirmishers. Now, I'm kind of surprised that neither player went for fully upgraded Elite Eagle Warriors. The victor really needs to get on his idle villager count. He's got a lot of idle villagers at the moment. looks like the Victor is reclaiming his base after being pent up in it for almost the entirety of the game, and this game is taking a lot longer than I thought it would to cast. If you can take out this trebuchet, that's going to be fairly big, as both players are running pretty low on gold at the moment. If he can just take out these eagles, then he can save this trebuchet. What are you doing? Attack the... No, take down the castle. You've almost got it. Oh. So many things that I want to shout at the moment. Onager has been done for Almas, so this might be what he needs to win. Having a superior military technology, and that's a lot of barracks, which he just isn't using. He's got a couple of Eagle Scouts queued up, but no Elite Eagle Warrior. I can't stress how much better the Elite Eagle Warrior is to the Eagle Scout. It's not even worth producing Eagle Scout unless you plan on getting them up to Elite Eagle Warrior. That being said, okay, looks like the Victor GG'd there, but that being said, you can use Eagle Scouts just to take out the odd rogue mangonel, or if your opponent just goes mass skirmisher as Almas did. But the game would have been over maybe half an hour ago in game time if Almas had gone... Well, no, that's not true. Let's say 15 minutes ago in game time, if Almas had just gone straight for the Eagle Warrior, there would have been nothing that the Victor could have done to counter that. Looks like it's GG. Well played by both players for lasting so long. I was surprised that the Victor made such a large comeback, to be honest. And he shouldn't have necessarily resigned there. I think if he started producing skirmishes of his own, he could most certainly have held out. And plus, if he kept his treb safe, then he would have been able to do a lot. That being said, Eagle Scouts do counter skirmishes pretty damn well. But if they're massed up enough, they're not Elite Eagle Warriors, so they don't have the extra armor that Elite Eagle Warriors have, so it would be plausible to be able to take out Eagle Warriors. Plus, Almas wasn't really massing up Eagle Warriors, he was just standing in the odd, like, few at a time, maybe 5 or less than that at a time, and you really want to get a mass of Eagle Warriors to do the damage you need, rather than sending them in at very small groups. I think that's the main thing that kind of annoyed me about this game. However, both players played well considering what they did. I was particularly impressed with the Victor, how he managed to pull that back. In fact, I don't think he would have necessarily lost if he stayed on and got a couple of... Well, if he'd got Onager, that would have been a good start to take out his opponent's skirmishers. If he'd gotten Elite Eagle Warrior a lot earlier when he could have afforded it, that would have meant GG, essentially, for Almas. Both players kind of ignored Elite Eagle Warriors, and that's something that you shouldn't really do as Meso Civilizations. The big thing about Meso Civilizations generally is that they can do Elite Eagle Warriors. The reason that Elite Eagle Warriors are one of the best raiders in the game is because first of all, they're very fast, they have very high pierce armor, and they can't be countered by trash units, and I can't stress how important that is. They can't be countered by skirmishers, they can't be countered by halberdiers, and they can't be countered by hussars. So, rather than, say, raiding with paladins, where all you need is, say, a good 50 halberdiers in your trade line to prevent your trade line being raided, although whether or not you want to waste those halberdiers like that is up to you. But paladins can be countered just by spamming halberdiers. Eagles can't. You need a gold unit to counter eagles, such as hand cannons or champions, or I don't know, throwing axemen. Or paladins. Paladins counter eagles pretty well. But essentially, that's what I'm saying. I think that they ignored the eagles. Also, the feudal rush by both players was pretty awful. They really need to work on that. That being said, Almas did a wonderful job of really booming a lot. He probably put up too many town centres. He didn't produce from all of them all of the time, in which case, what's the point in having them? Also, he ignored gold patches on the map, like this, which is kind of odd, and this one over here. I don't know whether he scouted it, maybe. Well, we can't see the Fog of War now, but you know, it strikes me as odd that he didn't take all of the gold patches, particularly this one, which is so close to home. And why build your economy right next to your opponent's base? That's just asking for your opponent to kill your villagers, essentially. I get it if you're out of gold, but not so much like lumber. You don't need. There's a lot of wood in the map. Wood's the most common resource. Why gather your opponent's wood? Yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the game, and hopefully both players got a lot of feedback. I don't mean to offend either of the players, by the way. I just figured I would do this. I have been asked by a couple of the Wololo tourney hosts to commentate a couple of the games. So I might do a couple more of these games, as long as no one feels particularly hurt by the commentary, because I don't want to piss people off. I just want to kind of point out flaws in the gameplay and how they can improve. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed it. Until next time, guys, ManBeast out.